Good evening from the free city of Kyiv, Ukraine. This morning we had, for the first time in history, the use by Russia of a ballistic missile on a target inside Ukraine, specifically the city of Dnipro, using multiple reentry vehicle warheads, meaning Russia used a weapon that is similar to what would be used in a nuclear strike. However, I'm going to explain to you why this is not really significant and is meant more as a signaling exercise, a propaganda exercise, and does not shift any significant change in the course of the conflict that started when Russia began its genocidal invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. Let's go back and look at some of the significant events that have occurred over the previous few days. Now, 4 days ago, Ukraine's allied partners lifted the restrictions on the use of long-range weapons inside inside Russia. Sorry. Now, this includes the use of ATACMS missiles, tactical ballistic missiles, and the use of Storm Shadow and Scalp EG cruise missiles by Ukraine against targets in Russia. On November 18th, Ukraine struck an apparent weapons depot inside Bryansk, Russia. On November 19th, the very next day, Vladimir Putin engaged in a big dog and pony show performative propaganda exercise where he allegedly changed Russia's written nuclear doctrine for when it can employ nuclear weapons. Now, I say this was a propaganda exercise and this was performative because he's a dictator. And when Russia uses nuclear weapons, has always been subject to his whims. It doesn't matter what he writes down. It doesn't matter what he tries to change. And it's proven by the fact that it was changed not by passing some new law or through some kind of process of deliberation with the military. It was with the stroke of a pen. He did exactly what he wanted. This was intended to try to scare people in the United States and to try to influence some of those isolationist wing on the far right of the Republican Party. But yesterday, the day after he did that, a salvo of 12 Storm Shadow cruise missiles hit a command and control center in Kursk, apparently killing and injuring dozens of North Korean and Russian officers. So that's how we got here. Yesterday, there was a very specific warning that came down from the embassies of the United States, Spain, Greece, and Italy. It was very different from the kinds of warnings we get every single day about air raid threats, missile threats, bomb threats, and drone threats that occur in this city, sometimes as much as 8 and 9 times a day. And what this warning said is these countries close their embassies because of specific information of potential significant air attack. And then finally, this morning, as described in the introduction, on Ukraine's Day of Dignity and Freedom, in which it celebrates the Orange Revolution and the Maidan Uprising, which is how it severed ties with Russian domination and control and dictatorship over many decades, over many years. Russia did this strike on Dnipro. Now look at the video on your screen. And what you'll see are warheads or parent warheads descending from the sky. They do not have explosive. They are not particularly accurate. And they did not cause any significant damage within the city of Dnipro. This is more properly understood not as a military function, but instead, again, as a political propaganda signaling exercise to try to further engage in what is a form of nuclear blackmail, to try to tell Ukraine and the West that Russia is ready to use nuclear weapons. However, we know that is a bluff for many other reasons that we'll address in videos to come. It is something that Russia has done repeatedly to threaten the West, to threaten Ukraine. If it crosses certain lines, like taking back the city of Kherson, like sending certain weapons, lines that have been crossed many times, threats that have been proven to be empty and futile in previous events or previous instances throughout this war. So, what does this mean? Well, what it really means is that Russia spent about $50 million to use a weapon that is far less accurate than other weapons in its inventory to try to scare people. That's basically it. Ukraine's going to keep fighting back. It's going to keep using long range weapons because its very survival depends upon it. It cannot, in good faith, negotiate with Russia because Russia has broken every treaty it's ever made with respect to not invading Ukraine and abiding by its obligations under international law with respect to Ukraine's territorial sovereignty and integrity. And in fact, It is even more irrelevant, proven as such, by the fact that Russia has used nuclear capable weapons, hundreds of them, literally hundreds of them, since the war began. This includes Iskander ballistic missiles, Zircon hypersonic missiles, KH-101 cruise missiles. These are all weapons that are nuclear capable, highly accurate, and have high explosive warheads. They're much better, much cheaper weapons to use if you're not going nuclear than what was used this morning. So putting this all together and trying to understand this comprehensively, what happened today will not affect the war in Ukraine. It will not affect how Ukraine defends itself and continues to fight back against Russian aggression. And it is really properly seen as an act of desperation by Vladimir Putin, whose threats have been called as a bluff. God bless Ukraine. God bless all of you. Thanks for watching. We'll check and see as developments come through with further videos, such as the specific type of weapon. It looks like an unknown or newer kind of medium range ballistic missile, but that'll be confirmed with radar data and analysis of the debris. We're still sort of in the preliminary stages and some things are still hazy. So check in with you soon. Take care and have a good night.